Here we are going to discuss regarding the overview of Palo Alto Panorama. So let's discuss that in details regarding what is Panorama, why we use that, what are the various models that is available, and what are the different features and benefits that we get, and what are the different deployment options that we have with Panorama. Right, so it's just an introduction class for Panorama, but you may follow our Panorama separate course and get acquainted with a lot of advanced knowledge of the product. So just to get into the overview part of it, so you must be knowing that it's a centralized management device. So just give me a second. So Palo Alto Panorama, as the name says, so it's a centrally management device. So the concept of Panorama starts with as a management server, right? So if you look into the product, which is basically the Panorama as a product, so it is normally called as a management server. Okay, so let's talk about Panorama overview here. Okay, so the idea is it's a management server, right? So it acts like a management server that will provide centralized monitoring and management of multiple Palo Alto next gen firewalls, and of course for various wildfire appliances and any appliance cluster. Okay, so from a single location, you can actually oversee all the applications, the users, and the content that is traversing your network, right? So then you can use this particular knowledge to create any application policies that will protect and control the network. So the whole idea of using Panorama is to manage and monitor the various Palo Alto firewall appliances as a centralized policy and firewall management product, right? So that's the reason we use Panorama, and it will definitely increase the overall operational efficiency in managing and maintaining a distributed network of firewalls. So suppose you have got hundreds or thousands of firewalls in spread across multiple locations. You've got a distributed deployment. In that case, to manage all the firewalls individually becomes a tedious task. So what you can do is you can have a centrally located Palo Alto Panorama, which can be managed by either one admin or multiple admin, and from that particular Panorama appliance you can go ahead and onboard all the 100 plus or 1000 plus firewalls based on the supported model numbers of Panorama. You can onboard multiple firewalls and you can centrally manage those, right? So which is very much efficient in management. For example, if all those 1000 firewalls need similar configuration, so you can manage that from a single pane of glass. So using Panorama for centralized wildfire appliance and also for wildfire appliance cluster management, it increases the number of firewalls in a single network that can support or provide any sort of high availability for fault tolerance, or definitely it will increase the management efficiency. So so regarding Panorama, so it will, as I've told you, it will enable you to effectively configure, manage and monitor your Palo Alto Networks firewalls with central oversight. So that's the term that I want to use, as central oversight. And there are three main areas in which Panorama can add some values. Okay, so the areas are, I can say, three main areas where Panorama add values. So one of them is your centralized configuration and deployment. So the whole idea is to simplify the central management and rapid deployment of firewalls and your wildfire appliances on your network. We can use this Panorama to pre-stage those firewalls and wildfire appliances for deployment. You can assemble the firewalls into groups and create templates to apply a base network and device configuration, and you can use these device groups to administer globally shared and local policy rules, right? So this is one of the reason why we can use the product of Panorama. Second area is your aggregated logging and central oversight for analysis and reporting. So your Panorama can collect information on activity across all the managed firewalls on the network and centrally analyze, investigate, and report on the data. So this comprehensive view of network traffic, the user activity, and the risk that empowers you to respond to any potential threats. We can use the rich set of policies to securely enable your applications on your network, right? So this becomes your very important point of using Panorama. And of course, the third area is distributed administration. That means it will enable you to delegate or restrict access to global and local firewall configurations and policies. So although you can manage those multiple firewalls locally, but now you have got a ability to manage those firewalls centrally from a single pane of glass. And also you can have dedicated role-based access control for delegating appropriate levels of access for distributed administration. So you can have multiple administrators and delegate those administrators with different role-based access control privileges, and based on those role-based privileges for the individual administrator, they'll have different set of policies and different set of administrative rights. All right, so if you look into a very basic diagram of this, so let me tell you regarding the diagram over here. Just give me a second, I'll take the pen out. All right, so the way it goes is very simple. Let's try to draw a basic diagram over here. Okay, so let's say that I have got a Panorama device. Okay, I've got a Panorama device, and I have got might be multiple Palo Alto firewalls that I can centrally onboard and manage. So this is going to be my Panorama. Panorama central management appliance, right? I can deploy this particular Panorama central appliance either in physical form factor or might be with a virtual form factor. We'll discuss about that, just give me a second. And this is basically your Palo Alto firewalls. So this is your, let us say, Palo Alto firewall 1, and say this is Palo Alto firewall 2, And let us say you have got another product called as a logging device in your network, right? So let's say you've got another product called as a logging device or a logger. Logging device, so which is used to keep your logs, right? So from this Panorama device, there could be central administrators, there could be central administrators over here who can manage this particular Panorama appliance. Okay, so the central admin will normally log into this particular Panorama appliance on the management port. So you have the management interface at which the central admin normally logs in and can configure or manage this particular appliance. Now from this particular Panorama device, what you can do is you can go ahead and do multiple stuff, right? So you can actually go ahead and send this blue color that I have drawn here, so I can actually initiate any sort of software updates for my Palo Alto firewalls, or any sort of content updates for my Palo Alto firewalls, license updates, right? So any sort of, let us say, management plane activities, I can go ahead and distribute those management based policies to my managed firewalls once they are onboarded, right? So to onboard a firewall is very simple. So I have to use their serial numbers, so which I'll show you in the next lecture. So I need to know their serial numbers, and using the serial numbers I can onboard this firewalls into my Panorama central appliance. And likewise on the firewalls, you should know the Panorama appliance management IP, and once they can communicate, there is a port number 32768 which will do that. Will actually tell you regarding this particular port number that has to be there. Just give me a second, I will tell you about that. So yeah, so between Panorama and the Palo Alto firewall, once they're added, you can go ahead and push the management plane activities configuration, and also you can create another important piece which is called as the configuration templates, and you can have another concept called as device group. So you can actually keep those Palo Alto firewalls into multiple device groups, or might be one device group, right? So you can have device group based policies, right, that you can go and configure, and you can push those configuration templates or device group based policies from this particular Panorama appliance to both the firewalls, both these particular management firewalls, right? So also one more thing, this particular logger or this logging device that we have, so you can actually think in this way, that this particular logging device can be used to keep the logs, right? So Palo Alto firewall can send their logs to this central logging device, and from this particular central logging device, the logs can be pushed all the way till Panorama, right? So this is possible. Or also from the Palo Alto firewall itself, the logs can be directly reported to the Panorama appliance. So Panorama appliance can be configured as a logging device as well. Okay, so the logs can be pushed to the Panorama appliance either from the central logging device or might be from this individual firewalls. Okay, so the idea is, this particular Panorama appliance, it does central management, as you are seeing, central management, plus it can store various logs of the managed firewalls, and based on that it can go ahead and generate reports which will be useful for the administrator. So these firewalls, now once they are onboarded into your Panorama appliance, they can be either managed via Panorama. So these firewalls will have the Panorama pushed policies. So the configuration policies can be created into the Panorama appliance and can be pushed to this particular firewalls. So they will have the Panorama policies pushed to them, and also it will have the local policy. Only one catch is, the Panorama policy will be in orange color and the local policy will be white colors. Okay, that means this Panorama appliance, once it is there, so these firewalls can be managed, their policies could be managed centrally via Panorama, or the local administrators of this firewall can also create local policies, right? So there will be local administrator that can manage this firewall as well, and it can also create local admin policies. All right, so yeah, I hope this particular point makes sense to all of you.